you really need to live and breathe AI like it's a second language. And that is going to be the most important skill that we have over the next decade. It doesn't matter where you go, which direction. If you want to be an online seller, if you want to be the best at anything, if you aren't leaning into AI in a serious way, you're missing a massive opportunity. So screw college, you don't need it. You can meet where you're at and then level up your knowledge on your own time, right? It's amazing.
Kevin, is there anything you changed your mind on last year that will impact your future?
So something that I've changed my mind on, well, this is a big one, and it applies to the industry where I spend my day job, which is as a venture capitalist over at True Ventures. So we funded a ton of startups, a lot of household names that in terms of software companies and hardware companies, from the Pelotons and Fitbits and Rings and you name it. There's been a whole slew of them. Very lucky to have been in a lot of those companies. And I think venture capital in general has been something where I've always kind of looked at as an entrepreneur and said, this is a necessity for tech. Like, there needs to be venture capital. And if you're an entrepreneur and they want to build something big, you need to go raise venture capital. And what that means is you take on a board member, you take on investors, and the potential outcome for what you want to build has to be massive. And what I've seen in the last 12 months that is just blown my mind is this leveraging of talent via AI. And what I mean by that is we are just now kind of creeping into a world where AI is a multiplier of natural talent. So if you're a writer, it helps you write better. You can produce more content faster. If you're a software engineer, you can write code 10 times as fast now. And the kind of downstream benefits of this for the creators and the individuals is that you don't need as many people, and you actually can go and build and start businesses without raising any venture capital. So that's great for the rest of the world, because I remember one of the earliest memories I had of Silicon Valley was, I moved out there in 2000, and I didn't know what venture capital was. I didn't know what Sand Hill Road was, which is this fancy road where all the VCs kind of have their offices. And it's very intimidating to come into an industry and say, like, I need to network my way into this industry to raise capital to start something. And the nice thing about AI now is I'm seeing engineers, or people that are just, I would even call them engineering curious, go out, and it's a thing called vibe coding, where they can go out and they can learn how to code via AI. I mean, AI is doing, call it 90% of the heavy lifting. They can ship a product, charge for that product, and they never need to raise venture capital. So what happens is, we're going to see, I believe, an order of magnitude more startups that are self-sufficient, that are able to go out and bring in real revenue from the get-go and be able to launch any idea that you might have without anyone else's help. So call it, a startup of one, and you'll bring it to market and just have a profitable business and be doing quite well as a solo entrepreneur, which is new and very, very exciting. One of the people that I really respect and admire in our industry and tech is a man by the name of Jason Fried, and he's written a bunch of great books called Rework, and he was very prescient, kind of very early at writing about the benefits of owning your own enterprise and not taking any outside venture capital. And he's someone that, his businesses make tens of millions of dollars per year, and he reports to no one. And he can do anything he wants at any time he wants, pivot it into any space, create any new product. He has a great new product out there called Fizzy, which is amazing. And it's that freedom and flexibility that comes from not being beholden to any investors, and also being able to kind of write your own destiny and do anything creatively that you want now with AI, I think is so powerful. So to sum it up, this is the absolute best time to be an entrepreneur. For anyone listening out there, if you aren't using AI models several times a day, and not just to answer your question about, how much baking soda goes in your recipe, but more so around, how you can do new skills. And it doesn't matter what that skill is. I spent 45 minutes on voice conversation having AI explain to me quantum mechanics. And let me tell you, it wasn't the PhD level quantum mechanics. It was explained to me like I'm a ninth grader, right? But I wanted to backfill that information and understand the bare minimum, because I know that, I was talking about investing in Nvidia on Tim Ferriss's show, 2 years ago now, when it was way less than it is today. And the reason I had that insight was because I was on the AI path very early. And so I know quantum's coming. How can I leverage up my understanding of quantum so that when it comes time for me to evaluate those publicly traded companies that are quantum companies that I want to invest in and see it early, like I did NVIDIA, I need a foundational level of knowledge about quantum. And so I can start there with AI. My point is, it doesn't matter where you go, which direction. If you want to be an online seller, if you want to be the best at anything, if you aren't leaning into AI in a serious way, you're missing a massive opportunity. So for me, the thing that I changed my mind about going into or over the last year was that I used to believe that to be successful and to get to escape velocity and have a massive business, you needed to raise venture, you needed to understand Silicon Valley. And now I'm realizing that no. It's actually, you really need to live and breathe AI like it's a second language. And that is going to be the most important skill that we have over the next decade.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. We have one string of our Christmas. We have a pre-strung, pre-made Christmas tree, and it has these little junction boxes. I didn't even know what they did, and I'm like not an electrician, but I could dabble. And I just was like taking things apart, using multimeters, testing these things, trying to figure out which little, circuits were working, what was going on. Ultimately, the solution is buy a new tree. But there were like 3 hours where I was soldering things and I was like taking photos and going back with AI as if I had an electrician in the house. Now, would an electrician in the house be more helpful? Yes. But what would it have cost to have an electrician come to the house on Christmas Eve and like sit down with me for 3 hours and diagnose a Christmas tree? It would be a total waste of money.
Right, and you probably just would let that person do that thing while you went and did something else. And now you have raised your base level of knowledge even a little bit in a domain that you didn't know about. And that's the cool thing about AI is it will always, it meets you where you're at. So screw college, you don't need it. You can meet where you're at and then level up your knowledge on your own time, right? It's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, our kids are young enough that I'm like, I don't know what college looks like in that number of years, but it's not going to look like, I think, what it is today. Now, there are some like socialization things that probably need to come out of it. But who knows what it looks like. And I've been, by now I'm wondering when this comes out, whether I will have shared it too widely, but I built a spreadsheet tool that, was not simple. And I was like, let's build this app. And I'm not an engineer. I'm not 10x the engineer. I'm kind of more of a product person. And I was able to build a really functional product. And I shipped it to our members. So if you're an All the Hacks member, you've been able to use this tool that optimizes all your credit card spending, goes through an immense amount of logic to recommend credit cards. You don't have to link your accounts. It's just based on kind of where you spend and what you have and kind of helps you evaluate things. But I never would have been able to build that. That's the thing that I honestly would have had to hire a team and raise money to go build. And I think of all the calls that I know you and I have gotten in emails from friends that were like, I have an app idea. And 5 years ago, we were like, nope, like no chance. Now, go build it.
The last decade has been everybody and their mother come to me and say, Kevin, I have an app idea, right? And then I've always said, great, let me introduce you to some freelancers. And it's about $50K to get it off the ground, minimum, right?
Did anyone do it?
None of them did it.
Yeah.
But now it's like, I remember when you and I were talking about getting this app off the ground, I was like, Chris, you need about 3 hours of tinkering with AI and you will stand up something. Will it be perfect? No. But over the next, week or 2 weeks, you can refine it. And AI coding is finally good enough that if you put them against each other, meaning like you put two AIs against each other and get them to kind of like work through the problem with you, you don't even have to look at a single line of code. I have like written fully functional, very serious algorithms that I've incorporated into some of the kind of clustering stuff that I'm working on right now. And it's something where I could ship it if I wanted to today. And it's only going to get better, right? 6 months from now, the coding agents are going to be probably 30 to 40% better. And we're finally at that point where you just won't even need anyone. It's crazy. It's a wild time to be alive.